Okay, in this presentation I'll be giving a review on how I thought my work experience placement went. The content of this PowerPoint will be my diary placement, so what activities I took place in when I was shadowing, as well as a SWOT grid to analyse my strengths and weaknesses at my placement. Finally, I will be talking about whether I met the targets I set or not. Within this, I will be discussing the strengths and weaknesses involved, as well as suggesting how to improve on the weaknesses if I had to do the placement again. So on this slide, it shows my placement diary. So throughout my placement, I was able to find out various things, as well as gaining experience in practical and academic lessons. I felt that because this college had various years, I was able to find out how the teachers adapt their way of teaching in order to suit that age group. Through observing the different years, I was able to see what year I would prefer to teach, and this will help me decide what kind of course I want to look into for uni. Throughout this experience, I was able to gain a lot of experience and skills that I can take with me in the process of my journey as a teacher. I enjoyed it and found out that I want to go into teaching for the older years, so either secondary or college. So this slide is the employer's report. So it shows the employer's feedback that they gave me. I mainly got 1s and 2s. However, the 2s were mainly because there were health and safety reasons as to why they weren't completed. So for example, with reliability, throughout the experience I was reliable, however I wasn't able to teach a class by myself for health and safety reasons, therefore she could only give me a 2. So moving on to my SWOT analysis, starting with strengths, I would say I was willing to observe anything, I had leadership skills, and I had good communication. Now, weaknesses, I didn't vary the sports, to be honest. All I really did was rounders, tennis and athletics, and they also had different sports they could have observed in, so I didn't really vary myself there. I also didn't get as involved as I could have, so there are certain opportunities that I could have participated in, but I just sat back and observed instead, so next time I would have done that differently. Moving on to threats, there were health and safety reasons that stopped me from completing certain targets and the opportunities, so I was able to go on and observe a match and how they are planned, also to work with the teacher to lead a session and observe a marking, which was part of my target, so they were completed. Moving on to my objectives. My first objective was to run a practical session with the teacher supervision. For this objective, I put a 5. So I incompleted it, and my reason for this is because I wasn't able to complete this for health and safety reasons, where I was able to observe and give inputs of ideas for different drills used. I mainly did that in rounders because I was more confident in that area. With this objective, I was able to use the strength of communication because I was able to give my input and communicate with the teacher in order to vary the drills and look at working on different techniques. So that's the reason it is a 5. For my second objective, I put a 1. So the final objective was to gain knowledge on how to mark a test paper or an assignment and what steps you have to take in order to make sure you have given them the right grade. I was able to complete this objective, so I gave it a 1. I was able to complete this one because I sat in on a lower sixth form biomechanics presentation, and I was able to roughly mark the presentation alongside the teacher. Afterwards, she then taught me through her marking scheme and the final grade she was giving them. Due to the fact that this was a live presentation, I wasn't able to get photographic evidence. However, I did record it in my placement diary. With this one, it links to one of my strengths and one of my inputs in my SWOT analysis, and they were willing to observe any form of lesson, and the second one was to observe marking of work. So moving on to my first skills, this one is a 2. So for my skill target, I put down to learn 3 different ways of managing and teaching 2 separate groups of students with different abilities. So I was able to give this target a 2 because I was only able to find out 2 different ways of managing different abilities. One was to run the session as normal, however adapt certain moves to be able to help them out. So this was shown in rounders when they were being taught the correct way to bowl from the box. However, some of them weren't reaching, therefore the teacher moved them closer to the batsman. Therefore, the batsman was getting to hit the ball and the bowls were correct and at the right height for them, because they were, at that point it was pre-prep, so they were around 4 or 5. So as well as this was also shown during athletics when we were doing sprint technique. One of the students wasn't able to do the correct motions whilst the others were practicing their techniques. The teacher was doing one-to-one examples to the student on the correct technique to use. I would say that for this target I was able to use the strength of good communication skills in order to get the information. However, I also say that one of my weaknesses was that I didn't vary my sport. Therefore, I limited the information I was receiving. Next time I would restrict myself less and choose a variety of sports, because this time I just chose the easiest and safest options. So the next one is my knowledge target, and I have given this a 1. So for the knowledge target, I chose to gain the knowledge of what qualifications are needed to do different teaching courses. I gave this target a 1 due to the fact that I was able to gain 2 different ways of teaching, and I gained their qualifications. One teacher did a PED in physical education and the other did a sports science degree in a PGCE. This target was very important in understanding the different paths I would be able to go down. This target also involves the strength of good communication skills, because I had to sit down with the teachers, ask them their journey, listen. So I also had good listening skills as well. And then note down the right paths and look into them. I looked into them a bit more because I wasn't too sure what route I wanted to go down. So this target actually really helped me in that element. So for my qualification target, I put a 3 for this one. So for my qualification target, it was to find out where I would be able to do my first aid course, as well as 3 different facts about the courses needed to complete when going into teaching. I gave this a 3 mainly because I wasn't able to do the first aid course, which was part of my target. However, I was able to find out about other courses you can do, and the teachers said that doing a variety of different coaching courses allows you to have different experiences as well as gaining knowledge about different aspects of the job. For most of these targets, it is the strength of good communication skills, but that is mainly what teaching is. You have to have good communication skills and leadership and everything like that. So for this one, it is again the strength of good communication skills. Moving on to the personal target, I gave this a 4, which is fairly close to incomplete. So my personal target was to gain confidence in talking in front of a large group of children or even students my own age, as well as learning different methods as to how to remember the content. I gave this target a 4 because for gaining confidence I was able to talk to the younger age groups and help with their session. However, I wasn't able to talk confidently to the older age groups, because I feel like, because they're around my same age, in my head I self-consciously thought they were like judging or something, so I need to kind of work on that. On the other hand, the teacher that I was shadowing informed me that confidence comes with experience, and when teaching someone around the same age comes with practice. So with this one, a couple of weaknesses that I didn't put in my SWOT would be just to not worry about how someone else is thinking, because you're the teacher in the situation, they're the student. So So moving on to my last target, which is the organisation target. So for the final target, it was to see what preparation goes into practical sessions as well as a theory session. I've given this a 1 because I was able to see the preparation for a practical session and how they get everything ready for the session, like equipment and the location, to make sure there isn't anyone else on the grounds that they want to do that activity on, as well as being able to see that they adapt the same session to different years and abilities. However, for the theory session, I was able to see what certain teachers did for different revisions, because around the time that I went to see the placement, it was around exam time, so all I really got to see were revision lessons. However, I was able to get evidence of one of the worksheets that was prepared for a lower sixth revision lesson. She turned it into a word search and made them find words related to biomechanics, which was very interesting to see, to be honest. So for this experience that I had, I found it very good and easy to pick up on, and it definitely made up my mind on whether or not I wanted to teach and what age groups I wanted to teach. So all I would say is, like, my limitations were health and safety. So what they said next time is, when you're a bit older, when you go into uni and you have to do a placement like this, you'll have the health and safety. Therefore, next time I'll be able to participate more when I'm in that year that we have to do that in. However, apart from that, I wasn't really limited in many ways, so I didn't have many other limitations.